Hey guys, it's Miss Shelly. Today we're going to talk about frequency tables and histograms. So let's go ahead and get started by looking at a problem. Here's the problem I'm going to solve first. It says Mr. Maxwell timed the cross-country team in a 2-mile run and recorded the times in the table shown. He wants to analyze the runner's time. What is one way Mr. Maxwell can organize the data? Well, actually, to solve this problem, we're going to discuss two different ways that Mr. Maxwell can analyze this data. The first way is what we call a frequency table. A frequency table shows the number of times a value occurs in each category or interval. So you'll see right here in yellow, I have the team times. Now, the pinkish, that's my frequency table. You'll notice that it's 3 columns. The first column is my running times. My running times is split into 2 minutes. Now, when you're making frequency tables, it's important that you don't have too less of time or too much of time. You want a good general idea of your different times. So a good thing you can do is look for your smallest time and look for your biggest time and kind of round. So for instance, our smallest time here is 14 minutes and 2 seconds. And our biggest time, it looks like, is 19 minutes and 15 seconds. So we'll round 14:02 down to 14 minutes, and we'll round 19:15 up to 20 minutes. So now when I'm looking at that, I need to go from 14 to 20. The best way to do that would be by 2s. That way everything is even. I like even. And there's no decimals or extra decimals or anything like that. You also don't want to break it up by each single minute. That just gets way too much, and we don't want to have to do, we don't want it to be too busy looking or too crazy. So the first thing I'm going to do when I do my frequency tables is I'm going to make my tally marks. Remember, a tally mark is just the line that goes up and down. So I'm going to look at my table here, and every time I have a time, I'm going to put a tally mark. So my first one is 16 minutes and 45 seconds. Well, that'll fall between 16 minutes and 18 minutes. So I'm going to put one little tally mark right there. Now, when I put my tally mark, I'm going to cross that time off. So that way I don't redo it. You don't want to have more tally marks than you actually have numbers. So I'm just going to keep going here. 1840 will go here in 18 minutes to 1959. 1603 we'll find in this category. 1512, well, that's the 15, that's there. 1915, that would be here, my 18 to 19 minutes. 1714 I can find in my 16 to 18 minutes. 1402 I can find in my 14 to 16 minutes. 1652 I'll find from my 16 to 18. 1518 I would find here. And I'm just going to keep going until I finish all of them like that. And 1755 would go here. Now, the second part of this is after you do your tally marks, you're going to do the frequency column. All the frequency column is you're going to add together all your tally marks. So in my 14 to 1559, I have 4. So I'm just going to write 4. In my 16 minutes to 1759 minutes, I'm going to write 6 because I have 6 tally marks. And in my 18 to 1959, I have 2 tally marks. So I'm just going to draw a 2. And that's it. I've successfully completed my frequency table. Now, I'm going to copy this data because this is actually going to be helpful. Actually, just these numbers right here are going to be helpful on my next slide. So let's copy this. Now, let's go, and another type of thing I can use to analyze my data is a histogram. A histogram is a graph that uses bars to show the number of values in each category or interval. Now, a histogram is great, except you kind of need a tally first to figure out all your categories. You'll notice here my categories at the bottom, my 14 to 1559, my 16 to 1759, those are the same 3 categories that I used on my frequency table here. So I can use this data right here to help me fill out my histogram. So let's come here. My 14 to 15, 59, I had 4 total runners. So that means I'm going to come up here to 4, and I'm going to just draw a bar. I'm going to kind of do my best to color it in. When you color it in, you don't need to color the whole thing. Just kind of shade it so we know. Now my 16 minutes to 17:59, I had 6 total runners. So I'm going to come up here to 6 and draw my bar graph. My bar, and I'm going to kind of just scribble it in a little bit. Don't need to be perfect. And then finally, my last category, 18 minutes to 19:59 minutes, I only had 2 runners. So I just need to come here to 2. Graph my 2. So you'll see that histograms may be easier, but it's even easier if you make a frequency table prior to making your histogram, because a frequency table, I keep going back and forth, sorry, but a frequency table will really tell you the total number of runners for each category, which you can then easily make your histogram. Notice a couple things on this histogram. The first thing I want you to notice is my title. I have a title. I also am labeling my y-axis. Remember, this is my y, this is my x. I'm labeling my y-axis. So now I know that for what? For runners. So a couple things to take note. So now we can work out some problems. So let's go to this problem. Zach surveys a group of middle school students and asks them how many texts they sent yesterday. The table shows the results. So lucky for us, we already have our frequency table filled out. So now we just need to answer 3 simple questions. You'll notice that my first column of my frequency table is the number of text. My second column is a tally. Remember, every mark represents a number between 0 to 19. And then the frequency, how many tally marks did you have in total? So let's start by answering our questions. 1, what is the greatest number of texts sent? Well, look at your chart. The greatest number is here, 11. 11 is my biggest, so the greatest number of texts sent were between 60 and 79. What is the lowest number of texts sent? So look at your chart and find the lowest number. My lowest number is here at 4. So that number is 20 to 39. And now I can move on. It says, let's change my pen color. Let's go with gray. How many students sent between 20 and 59 texts? So 20 and 59 texts. So I'm going to come here, and I need to know this number right here. So that would be 4 plus 10, which equals 14. And that's it, guys. You successfully just read a frequency table. See, it's not that hard. All the information you need to know is right there in the frequency table. Now, let's look at a histogram and answer some questions on that. So I have a histogram. It says the histogram shows the number of points that Kendra scored during each basketball game she played last season. So you'll notice that the number of games are right here, and that since that's the number of games, these must be my scores. Okay, so now let's answer some simple questions on this. Number 1, how many games did Kendra play last season? Well, remember, each one of these categories is a number. So that would be 3. This is 0. This goes up to 6. This is over here at 2. And this is at 1. These are 3 games she scored 0 to 4 points. So 3 games. 0 games she scored 5 to 9. 6 games she scored 10 to 14. So we got to add those. 2 different games, she scored 15 to 19 points. And 1 game, she actually scored 20 to 24. So now all I need to do is I need to add up all these numbers. So 3 plus 0 is 3. 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. 11 plus 1 is 12. So how many games did Kendra play last season? She played in 12 games. Good. See, easy. Now let's read our next one. It says, in how many games did Kendra score from 5 to 9 points? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to look at my 5 to 9 column, which would be right here. How many games does she play? Or how many games does she score 5 to 9 points? Oh, it tells me right there. 0. So no games did she score between 5 and 9 points. That's it, guys. That's all we're doing. All right, let's take it up a notch. Now, let's have a number of songs on iPhones, and let's make our own frequency table and histogram, and then answer questions on that. So, I got my frequency table right here. Now, it's already started kind of breaking down my range. It looks like it breaks it down into 100 to 149, 150 to 199. So now I need to say, okay, well, 200 to what? Well, if I look up here, my 100 is 100 to 149. So my 200 needs to be 200 to 249. We want to keep the same range for every single category. So that's 249. So this would be 250 to 299. Now remember, every time I do a tally mark, I'm going to mark that number off. So 289 falls here, 115 is here, 203 is here, 192 would be there, 178 is here, 256 would be here, 248. If I was good at video editing, I would just do this in fast motion for you so you didn't have to listen to me talk to myself. But sadly, I am not that good at video editing. I don't even know how. One of you should make a video for me and teach me how to do it. I'd be awesome. I'd love to learn that. But in the meantime, you just get to listen to me make my tally marks and talk to myself because no one's here. I'm all alone. 125, 163 would be here, and 210 would be here. All right, I'm done now. So I have 5 tally marks here, 6 tally marks here, 7 tally marks here, and 2 tally marks here. Now, I need to make sure that I got all of those tally marks. 5 plus 6 is 11, plus 7, 18, plus 2 is 19. Oh, wait. So 18 plus 2 is 20. Duh, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. So I officially got all of my numbers. Perfect. So now that I have my frequency table done, I need to move over and do my histogram. So you'll notice that my categories down here are my same categories as right here. So I need to finish filling in my chart. So this would be 200 to 249. This would be 250 to 199. So now I can make my histogram. I'm actually going to use my highlighter because I think it would be easy. So my first number, 100 to 149 songs, I had a frequency of 5 students. Oh yeah, look how easy that is to color. My next is 150 to 199, and I actually had 6 students. So I'm going to color that bad boy. 200 to 249, I had 7 students. Remember, you'll notice mine's not perfect. Yours doesn't need to be perfect either. Just do the best you can when you do these. And then finally, 250 to, oops, I wrote 199. That should actually be 299. My bad, guys. And that gives me 2 students, or 2 phones. So now that I did that, I can color that. So now that I've done my frequency table and my histogram, I can answer some questions. The first question, how many people have between 150 and 199 songs stored on their phones? Well, let's go to 150 and 199 and let's see. That is this category, and there are 6 students. That's easy, right? Number 2, do more than half of the phones have fewer than 149 songs stored on them? We'll go to 149. 5. Now there's 20 total. Is 5 half of 20? No. So then my answer would be no. Is the greatest number of songs stored on the phone between 200 and 249? Well, let's go to 200 and 249 and let's see. So 200 to 249 would be right here, and I have 7. Is 7 the biggest number? Yes, it is. So yes is my answer. And then finally, number 4. Are there more phones that have between 200 and 249 songs stored on them than have between 150 and 199 songs? So, are there more songs stored between 200 and 249 songs than 150 and 199? So let's take a look. That's these two categories right here. So I have 6 and 7. Well, are there more? Is 200 and 240 and 249, are those more? Yes, because there's 7 in that category, and 150 and 199 only have 6. So 7 is bigger than 6, so then my final answer would be yes. What do you think, guys? This is easy, right? This ain't nothing. So now let's take a look at this histogram and answer some questions on this. So, number 1, how many students in Miss Geo's class took the science test? So, number of students right here on my y-axis. So, all I need to do is add up. So, right here, I have 4. 76 to 80, I have 6 students that scored that, so I can add 6. 80 to 85, well, 0. 86 to 90, there were 8. 91 to 95, there were 7. So I'm going to add that. And then over here, between 96 and 100, only 2 students got that. So now I just need to add them up. 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 plus 0 is 10. 10 plus 8 is 18. 18 plus 7 is 25. 25 plus 2, 27. So how many students took the science test? 27 students. I bet y'all are like, man, Miss Shelley, give me something harder. Nope, this is it. All right, so now let's go to a second question. How many students had scores that were 80 or lower than had scores that were higher than 90? So let's come over here and let's look at all of my categories that are lower than 80. So lower than 80. It can't be 81. That's higher. So it has to be these two categories. So first thing I need to do is I need to add those two categories. So lower than 80, I have 4 plus 6, which is 10. Okay, so now let's go and let's look at the students that scored higher than 90. So that would be 91 to 90 to 100. So let's add those up. So then higher than 90, that would give me 7 plus 2, which would be 9. So now, how many students had scores that were 80 or lower than had scores that were higher than 90? So 10 students scored less than 80. 9 students scored higher than 90. So in order to find out how many students had scores that were lower than 80 and higher than 90, I'm actually going to subtract 10 minus 9. So 10 minus 9 is 1. Oh, sorry. How many students had scores or lower? So, right here. And that's it, guys. So let's move on to my next one. My final problem. I've given you a table of data, and we are now going to make our own frequency table and our own histogram. Now, if we were in class, you would be doing this on your own. However, since we are doing distant learning, it's going to be hard for you to create your own frequency table and histograms in Word or PowerPoint or anything. So you're just going to be focusing on answering those questions. But I still think it's important that we know how to make our own frequency table and how to make our own histograms. So I have a set of data from a bicycle stopping times. Now, the first thing I need to do is I need to figure out what my time intervals are going to be. So I want to look for my lowest number and my biggest number. My lowest number is 8, and my biggest number looks to be 25. So if I do 25 minus 8, that gives me 17. So I have 17 different number sets here. Now remember, I don't want my numbers to be too big, my data set, and I don't want them to be too small. So since I'm looking at 17 different seconds, I'm going to split my data set into 3s. I think that'll give a good variety without my data sets being too small or too big. So since my smallest number is 8, I'm going to start with 8. So that's going to be 8 plus 3, which is 11. So then I come down here, my next number is going to be 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. My next number is going to be then 16. 16 plus 3 is 19. So then I come out here and make that 20. 20 plus 3 is 23. Come down here to make 24. And 24 plus 3 is 27. So now I can start making my tally marks. So my first number is 15. Once again, you get to watch me do this. And hopefully you printed out the notes and maybe you're doing this together with me on your notes. If not, I understand. It does kind of help make this go by a little quicker and helps that you can do it. 9, 14. While I'm doing this, I'm just going to talk a little bit. I hope everyone had a really good Easter. I wish we were in class together so you could each tell me all about your Easter. I bet Easter looked a little bit different this year for each of us, but that's okay. We adapt and we're resilient. Okay, perfect. So now that I have all my tally marks, now I'm going to find my frequency. So I have 6, 3, 6, 2, and 3. So now, oh wait, I messed up. Sorry guys, I accidentally gave my 14 tally mark in the wrong spot. That should actually be 4, that should be 5, my bad. So now I'm going to take my times intervals over here and I'm going to plug them in over here. So then that would be 8 to 11, 12 to 15, 16 to 19, 20 to 23. Now, when you're doing these, there's no wrong. Really, there's not a wrong intervals. You have to just kind of determine what you think the best interval set's going to be. So my first 8 to 11, my frequency is 6, sorry. So I'm going to come over to 6. Graph that. My 12 to 15, there were 4 writers, so I'm going to come and graph that. 16 to 19, I had 5. Remember, just do the best you can when you're graphing these. Your lines may not be perfect and straight like mine are not very perfect and straight. Just do the best you can. And then finally, 3. And there we had it. We just successfully made our own frequency table and histogram with data. All right, guys. Now I want you to hop on back over to Teams and you're going to answer some questions. Remember, my office hours are on Wednesday. If you need me before then, shoot me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.